Welcome back to another episode of the Consistency Engine podcast. I'm your host, Dane Patton, and with me as always, Chase Collier. How you doing today, Chase?
Doing good. Enjoying the warm weather, watching the corn grow, and getting ready for some fireworks here before too long.
But this actually will probably come out after the fireworks are shut off because we have so many recorded podcasts. But yes, we're in the middle of the summer here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and it is steamy out.
Yes, little humid. A lot of people from other states ask how the weather is here, and I always say we get the worst of both worlds. We get a lot of snow in the cold, and we get a lot of hot and humid weather.
Yeah, I love the heat. So, you can usually find me in the pool during these warm days. So that's where I'll be going later this afternoon.
I don't mind the heat if I'm in a pool or on the beach, but the humidity around here, if you've never been to Nebraska in the summers, we do get very humid because we irrigate our corn and kind of produce our own humidity.
That's right. The corn sweat.
Yes.
People don't know about. Interesting topic for sure. This topic is not about corn sweat or humidity. I wanted to bring up, it's going to be more business related, but I think there's going to be some principles in here. Just like any time we talk about stuff, there's good life lessons, life principles, and when I think about business, why do so many business owners, why do so many businesses stay small and maybe play small? And I think a lot of that has to do with just, we talked a lot about opportunity cost earlier this week and what that opportunity cost is for staying comfortable when you're in your business.
Yeah, so opportunity cost for anyone listening is whenever you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And it could be something financially, it could be something for spending your time or energy on. But when you think about businesses that are staying small, they're saying no to growth. They're saying yes to comfort, contentment. They enjoy where they're currently at, which in some people's situations, if you're near the end of your career and you just kind of want to ride off in the sunset, okay, kind of understand it. But when you think about the opportunity cost of staying content at the current size you're at, how much money are you leaving on the table for both your family, for legacy, for employees and staff, but also how much more impact can you make and how much more time can you create if you grew it just another notch or two bigger?
Yeah, I think that when I think about this topic, it's, I've lived in both worlds, and that's why I like talking about these these things, because I when I started my business, I did not have these visions that I have now of where I want to go with our business. And when I started, it was just, I wanted to replace my W-2 income. That was all I wanted to do. I just wanted to work for myself and wasn't thinking about, hiring anybody. Maybe I would bring on one person just to help out, because sometimes the jobs that we do require another set of hands from time to time. And that wasn't ever the vision. But what happened and why that vision started to grow was because I started this business, and we've talked about before, I owned my own job, and it got to the point where it was sucking every ounce of time that I had, because I love to help solve people's problems. And when you're constantly getting inundated with phone calls with people having issues and they need help with this, I have a hard time telling people no, that I can't because I'm too busy, or I'm not working today. I'm doing this with my family, so we can't help you. And that was a struggle for me, because I like to help so many people, especially in my line of work, because there's not many people that do what we do, and there's very few that do it well. So I've been there. That's where I wanted to start, and then it's like, if I'm going to say no to all these people, what happens? And that's kind of like what you're talking about, your opportunity cost. If I keep telling people no, that I can't help them, I'm probably just going to build somebody else's business, right?
Yeah, they're going to go to the next one on the list.
And if I start saying yes to more customers, well, what do I have to do to take care of more people? Well, I have to grow myself.
There's kind of 4 quadrants of being a business owner, and I can't remember all of them because it's been a while since I looked at it, but the main quadrant that business owners get themselves into is they created a job. Just like Dane was saying, is that we left corporate, we started our own thing because it was out of spite, out of ambition, out of wanting to do your own thing, and you create your own job. Cool. Like, you now work for yourself, but all of your time goes into the work you created. Number 2 is being a little bit more of a business owner, where you build out systems, you build out staff, you create the freedom for other people to be coming in and providing for their families, doing the job that you used to do, and you can focus on the business growth. The next one, I believe, is more like true business owner, C-level.
CEO.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you are now overseeing the managers that are developing and running with your business. You're on the board, you're still making decisions, but it's very high level, and you've taken a manager or somebody else to run the role that you were running. And then the 4th one is investor. You now can get to a point that you buy ownership of different businesses, or you have ownership in your own business, and all you're doing is sitting back and letting the businesses run. And all of those quadrants have pros and cons with them, and they're all kind of steps up from each other. But there are opportunities out there for you to advance from your company you created to just be a job.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people out there that's what they wanted to create. They wanted to create a stable income for themselves. They didn't ever want to grow or do anything more, and that's totally fine for those people. And there's a place and there's a need for that out there. And if you're happy with building a business or building a job like that, more power to you. Okay. But like this podcast is for those people that want more. They feel like that they could be doing more. They want some help on how to get there, and that's what we want to do is take our experiences and say, okay, I've been in your shoes before, and I had this vision, but then it kept growing, and there was something inside of me that said, okay, if you're going to help more people, you can't keep saying no to your family. And that's what I was doing, was I was spending more time working and not time with the people that we tell them that they matter the most. But if I'm always working, and it seems like my customers matter more than my family do, so I had to grow myself, and I had to figure out how am I going to be able to how am I going to attract people out there that want to come work for me, and then once I do, how do I train them and pour into them and believe in them, and then delegate to them, because we can hire people and we don't really delegate. We just tell them what to do. We don't allow them to make choices and make decisions, and sometimes we're scared of them making mistakes, and we want to put these training wheels on them and not let them go. And those are areas that a lot of us business owners fall into, and that's how we fall in that trap of staying small.
Yeah, you can hire the best talented people for the roles, but if you don't give them proper direction, proper delegation, they're not going to be able to succeed like you want them to. And it is always scary and tough to give somebody power and control over something that you were doing, because all of us business owners, we think we are the best at what we do and that no one else can do it as good as us. I can tell you there's so many different aspects of a business that people can do better than me, because I only know certain pieces of it, and other people were formally trained at a specific niche or spot within your business. And most entrepreneurs were most of us are generalists. We know a little bit about a lot of different pieces of the business. But if you bring somebody in that is a master of building out systems and processes, let them run with it. If you're in the contracting business and need someone to work on homes and gets bats out of the house, then somebody that has been in carpentry or contracting for years can probably do a pretty good job at it. And you just need to be comfortable with letting the reins go a little bit. And it's going to be a process. You might only give 10% away in the beginning of those tasks, but the more you can build a team with culture that will hit on, the more you can trust your people to continue to give them more and more tasks off of your plate.
Yeah, and to me, I think it really comes down to that mindset more than anything else, because we've sat in rooms and we've heard people talk about, you know, that they want to grow, but they haven't ever hired the people to grow. That's like this huge hurdle for them to figure it out, I was in that same place too. I was like, man, I hire somebody, then that means I'm responsible for their income, and that's a scary thing. But I guess I'll tell you what, it's way more fulfilling to know that you employed somebody or employed other people, and you created something that's providing for their family too, and that's. I've told that story plenty of times. Like, I got huge amounts of joy from taking the first phone call and doing the job and getting a 5-star review and collecting the money and doing all that kind of stuff. Always felt super great, solving somebody's problems. But actually creating a business where other people can do that and succeed and grow, and I'm not directly involved with it, like, I get way more joy seeing people win in the business that we created.
One of the other pieces I wanted to touch on is, you previously said, hire people, train them, get them to stay on. Mm-hmm. There's so much that has to do with the culture of your business and the vision and the values that you are treating these people with. I've seen a lot of businesses that hire a ton of great, talented people, but the culture is so bad, for lack of better terms, that they don't stay for long. And if you're truly trying to build yourself out of the business or out of the day-to-day hard labor or tasks that you're trying to get yourself out of, you have to think about the structure and the culture that comes along with that. Otherwise, people may stay for a month and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, what's the reason that they're coming to work for you? Is it just to have a job, for a paycheck? I mean, there's people out there that's all that they're looking for, and that's fine. But are they coming to work for your organization because they believe in the mission of the organization, or they believe in the leader of the business, and they say, I want to go work for that company because they're doing something awesome, or I see the growth potential inside this business, or that's somebody that I want to work for because I like the way that they show up. There's so many different layers to that, and having the culture, and that's another reason that some businesses stay small, because they never, we've talked about culture and core values and stuff like that so many times. It kind of like becomes a cliche thing, to talk about core values. But the reason we talk about it so much, and you hear other people talk about it so much, is because it's so fundamentally important to build a business of substance. And you think that it's just one of these, little, keyword things, but it's not. It's real, true life stuff that you need.
A quick little exercise for everybody that is listening is take a moment and just think about whether it was a teacher, high school, college, or an old boss that you had. Think about the traits that the worst boss you ever had, and then think about the traits that the best boss or leader that you ever followed had. And think about comparing that to yourself of how you lead. Are you leading like somebody that you would want to follow and get led by, or are you doing the opposite? because you have to do some sort of self-evaluation to make sure that you are being that best leader that you can, leading by example, leading by excellence, and giving people a safe space and a path to move forward, instead of, I've had this boss too that was a lot more of a dictator, very direct, demeaning, condescending, and that is not a leader that I or anybody probably wants to work under. So the way that you lead is going to be a big component of if people are going to stay with you long term or not.
Yeah, that is a good piece of advice, and definitely a good little mindset work through, just to think about, how are you showing up, and are you somebody that you'd want to follow? I know there's plenty of people that say one thing but do a different thing, and that exercise right there is a prime example of that. So then I want to kind of go a little bit farther. Okay, talk about my experience. So I started this business, and I was working so much, and I wasn't spending time with the family, and I was like, okay, I've got to do something to grow. I got to duplicate myself. I got to go find somebody. So then I find somebody, and I bring them in. I train them. I pour in the time and money and energy and effort into bringing them on, and now we're busier. All right, so it's like, okay, well, now I'm taking care of more people, and I'm still in that same boat. Like, work expands to the time that we give it, and now I just expanded my capacity to do more work, and it's like, well, then I got to grow again, and it's or do I just stay in that spot, and now we've got two people out there doing field work, and then one person that's doing sales, and then I'm doing all of the paperwork. Well, I wasn't actually doing the paperwork. I was just stacking because I had no time. And it's like, well, do I just stay in that spot, or do I have to take another step and hire another person and provide livelihood for somebody else? And that's a mindset shift. And it's like, okay, well, I can do it with one person. I should probably be able to do it with two people, right? And then you take that step, and then you just keep moving forward. I like to talk about failing forward. Like,
yes,
we've talked about failure a little bit before, and failure only happens when you quit, right? Like, did I fail? No, I just kept moving forward. I learned a new lesson, and it's like, well, I'm going to bring somebody else on, and we're gonna fill up their schedule, because I know that if I'm doing the right actions and I'm showing up every day, whether it's going to happen today or tomorrow or next week, I know that if I keep showing up to customers' houses and leading with a high integrity and solving problems, that it's just going to continue to snowball. And that's we started with 2 people, and then we went to 4 people, and now we went to 6, and now we're at 8, and then I've got to hire more people, and we're just continuing to move that way. And it didn't happen overnight, but it's happening because we continue to do the same things that I was doing back when it was just 2 of us.
And the way you've scaled has been awesome to watch firsthand. When you think back to kind of those quadrants we were talking about in the beginning, until you get to a certain point, it will remain a job. And you could have 10, 20 employees under you and still it be a job, because either things aren't delegated properly or more new duties have come up that need done because you're scaling. So just because you have 1 employee or a couple employees does not mean that you still don't have a job, because you could still be working 60 hours a week. But like what Dane was saying is that as you hire, as you expand and scale, there's going to be new things that come up that you didn't know needed attention, and that will create new spots for more people to be hired. And the more you can continually do that and scale it out, the sooner you're going to get to that spot that you are the president or CEO and people are managing the whole system for you.
Yeah, it was funny. Earlier this week, we were having our team meeting. On Mondays, we have team meetings with everybody in there. And, we have some newer guys that are still in training and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I wish that I could be out in the field every single day training these new guys. Like, I love to do that. Like, I love getting their hands on, doing everything. And when you come start here, I usually do a little bit of that at the very beginning. But then it's like, well, I have technicians that this is all that they do and they're very good at it. So I need to allow my technicians to actually train the new guys doing that work. So we're sitting here talking about it, and I'm just listening to them kind of go over the issues that they're dealing with, and what the lead tech and the level 2 techs they're going over how they're training and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like sitting back, was like, how awesome is this to see people doing what I once thought I was the best at. And I was like, man, I've been able to remove myself as the bottleneck from this particular spot out of the business. And I think I was comfortable being the bottleneck because I felt like, if somebody didn't have the answer, they had to come to me, and I had all the answers to solve everybody's problems. And then I was like, well, now there's other people out there that can solve those problems. They don't have to come to me. But I've allowed that to happen, and it's been a little bit of a mindset shift and a struggle to be able to give some of that away, but then seeing like the fruits of that happen and people to grow, and actually step up into something that I was initially hesitant to give up, and that's been so fun.
It takes a lot of courage to let that happen, because you still want to be in the driver's seat, and until you can mentally let somebody else drive some of these other parts of the business, you're going to remain with it being a job because you just want to be in there. But part of it as business owners, entrepreneurs, is we want to allow other people to grow. And if you don't let your employees have that opportunity, you're almost burdening them with not giving them the potential that they could grow to. And it's very important to let other people fail forward, because they're not going to do it right the first time. They may not do it right the second time. And business owners are here for moral support. We're here to guide and direct them. But if they never had the opportunity to fail forward, they wouldn't be learning either.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about. I see a lot of business owners that they don't want their employees to make mistakes. So they put this bubble around them and don't allow anything to kind of like they can't make any choices or decisions and stuff like that. And I think that there's certain aspects of that is beneficial, especially maybe at the beginning. You don't want somebody's confidence to really take a hit or anything like that. But giving them that leeway to make a decision, and then if it doesn't work out, then work through it. It's the same thing when we're raising our children. We've got to wish, or we've got to hope that we've instilled enough good knowledge and enough life lessons and all that kind of stuff. So, when I remember my oldest son, when he turned 16 and he took the keys for the first time to drive his own car, like that was one of the highest anxiety moments I've ever had in my entire life. Because up until that point, for the first 15 and a half, 16 years of his life, I was either in direct care of him or I entrusted somebody to care for him. And this was the first time he ever left the nest without me knowing where he's at, what he's doing, who he's with, all of that kind of stuff. I had no control over it. And I think that moment definitely helped me in my business, because I gave up that control, and then I was like, well, guess what? He came back, and he was okay. And then he did it again the next day. And then you just get used to that, giving away some of your power that we think, or control that we think that we need to have. And that definitely, and that was a big correlation that I, when I take back and I reflect and I think about the things I was going through at the time, and that was 5 years ago, and that was right around the time where I started this development, and really we started kind of pouring gas on the fire, as they say, and things started to get much busier with our business.
You have to be okay taking risks, and none of these items should be high risk tolerance. You're not spending $100,000 on day one to hire somebody. No. You're giving them a salary that's probably monthly pay, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. The other day when Dane and I were talking about opportunity cost, is if you don't hire an employee that's $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 a month, how much revenue are you leaving on the table because you have to say no to so many people? Kind of coming back to that first statement Dane said of he didn't have time, is if hiring someone at $5,000 a month, whatever the number is, generates $10,000 to $20,000 a month in additional revenue for your business, you're kind of doing a disservice to the growth of your business by not hiring them. And one of the questions that everyone asks is, when is the right time to hire? There is no perfect answer for that.
I always say if you've asked that question, we're probably past that time.
Yes. If systems are in place and things are ready to go, hiring somebody is going to produce additional revenue. And we told this story the other day, but if you want to talk about that piece of equipment that someone bought.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think it melds well with everything here. And we were talking to somebody in their business and they were talking about, pieces of equipment or what was something that they that helped them move forward, and they were talking about these jobs that they were doing, and they had to rent this piece of equipment, and they did like 3 or 4 jobs a year, so they'd rent it, and they never purchased it, but they finally got to a point where they had the capital that they could go and buy this piece of equipment, and so they're telling me this story, and I'm listening, and I said, well, hold on a second, like, how many jobs have you used that piece of equipment on now? And they said, well, more than I can even count. And I was like, exactly, that's the point. Like, you just glossed over this. Like, you invested, you took the risk, you made the jump, the leap to get this equipment, and now you're using it more than you ever would have thought that you did. And guess how much more revenue that probably is bringing that person, and they don't think about that. And it's same thing with, whether you're buying a piece of equipment or you're hiring somebody. If you're thinking, oh man, is it the right time to hire somebody? Well, you probably have already went past the point where you should have.
Yep.
And you should have hired them, and you should have trained them. And especially at the beginning when you're small, like, we love to talk about systems and processes and SOPs and KPIs. But when you're really small and you've got 1 or 2 employees, those aren't necessarily the end-all, be-alls. It's nice to have them, but guess what? When you bring somebody on, you're that small, you can probably work off the cuff quite a bit. But as you grow, you want to have that stuff set. I mean, it's important when we talk about it for a reason, but especially at the beginning, if you're just trying to train one person, you're probably still pretty involved with everything going on. So, and then you bring somebody on and say, okay, help me create this SOP. And then you got somebody that can help document while you're doing it, and they're training, and kind of 2 birds with 1 stone on that.
On the kind of flip side of size of companies, I was talking to someone earlier today who was talking about a 2,000 to 3,000 employee company, large size. They said one stat on their P&L that really didn't show up, which is where the opportunity cost lies, is not all things of opportunity cost show up on numbers. He said that this company was losing over $100,000 a month because they couldn't retain the employees long term. They were spending that much money per month on onboarding, offboarding, interviews, all of those different things because they lacked the correct culture, leadership, and things in place to get employees to stay.
Yeah, I can 100% agree with that statement because I see it out there in real life. I see it in some of these peer groups and stuff like that I talk with people that have much bigger businesses than I do, but they're so disconnected from their employees. And when I hear that stuff, it's like, well, what's the culture of your business? Like, if you're constantly looking to hire new people because you can't keep people, it's not because you're growing immensely and you need to keep hiring to fill. It's you can't keep those employees. It's like, well, we need to kind of, look in the mirror and see, okay, well, why is this happening? Is it an outside force, or is it me? Am I the problem? Have I not built the culture? Have I not created the systems inside my business that will duplicate this? And am I not giving people enough delegation and ownership of what it is that they do? Because That's hard. That's hard to do. If I'm going to come work for somebody and they won't give me any sort of ownership of what I'm not saying like equity in the business, but like, can I own my own job? Can I do it this way? And can I like answer questions and bring solutions to you? Man, when you have employees that they solve something before you even know it's an issue, like that's like super awesome.
Well, one of the things a old boss of mine did when I was in corporate is first time I ever presented a problem to him, he was like, okay, what's your solution? And then the next time I brought him the problem with solutions attached to it, said, can we move forward with X or Y for the solution? And if you can get your staff to start coming up with solutions and not needing you out in the field or your opinion on stuff, and you can just pick A or B as the solution, that's so nice.
Yeah, because then you build that culture of, okay, if there's a problem, well, let me try a few things to solve it, and then when we have our weekly meeting, then you can say, hey, this was a problem. These are the two things that I tried to do. This one worked. We solved it. So maybe we need to create a new SOP for if this happens again, this is how we solve the problem. And when you create a culture where your employees can do that, like the sky's the limit at that point in time. And that's really fun to watch. Like that's when we start gamifying the business.
Yes. So we're near the end of the episode. Some things to think about, takeaway, homework, whatever you want to view it as. Ask yourself where you're currently at in your business. Are you happy with it? Do you want more? Are you content? Is it subconscious that you're staying where you're currently at, or do you actually want to grow? Because a lot of those questions will help indicate which direction you should go in. If you want to scale, do it. There's nothing holding you back. Yes, it all sounds scary, the hire, the fire, the culture. There's so many pieces of it that are dynamic, but you will figure it out. And once you do it the first time, you'll learn how to do it better the second time. And it will just become so much easier. But the ability to increase not just revenue, because at the end of the day, money is on the scoreboard, but your time freedom, the mental clarity and energy that you're putting out will be so much more cleaner because you will have direction and know where you're going, know what direction the business is going in, and be able to impact so many more people.
Yeah, that last statement I think is the most important, especially to me, is the impact. You know, the impact that we can make as one person in our business is pretty decent. One person can make a pretty good impact. I can help, a few hundred people a year if that's all we're going to do. But then when I look at when I build a team, the ripple effect of that is so much. Like I said, sky's the limit, and we're helping thousands of people a year instead of 200 people that I could have helped. So. And that's for me. And now that, like I said, that's not necessarily what everybody wants to do, and that's okay. But for those people out there, if you've had a dream of maybe I could do something on a bigger scale, well, that dream I feel like was a vision that was given to you, and it's definitely something that you're capable of. It just requires you to do some work.
Put the work in, stay consistent, and engineer it.
Yes. So thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Consistency Engine podcast. Please like, subscribe, share. We do have our Facebook page up, so if you want to follow that, we'll be posting hopefully our full episodes and then some of our little video reels and stuff
clips
like that, and whatever other advice that we can put out there. And but we thank you, grateful for you to be here, and have a great day.